Hello. I cannot believe they're letting us do this. Welcome to the London Transport Museum here in the heart of Covent Garden, where I cannot believe this. They've let us in after the museum has shut. All the people who are left here are two of my museum friends, me, a security guard, and you. Who am I? Well, I'm Tim Dunn, a transport historian, and I'll be honest, complete and utter London transport obsessive. And we've been locked in, just so we can show you into there, the brand new Hidden London exhibition. This is an exhibition that shows you a little bit of a glimpse behind the scenes of those remarkable abandoned tube spaces and abandoned stations all over London. Now, we're going to meet Chris Nix, who is one of the experts here at the museum. He's the Assistant Director. Now, Chris has been one of the driving forces behind this remarkable exhibition. Is going to show us some wonderful stories and some great objects inside. Now, if you've got any questions or comments throughout this broadcast, please do ask and comment in the questions down below, just down there, and we'll do our very best to answer them as we go or after the broadcast. Now, please do also share this as widely as you can on Facebook with the hashtag Hidden London Live, because we'd love as many people as possible to join us on this, frankly, unique tour through some wonderful places in a wonderful exhibition. Now, you don't hear from me, you hear an expert. I'm no expert on this kind of thing. It's time, I suppose, to meet Chris. Chris? This worked better. That worked better in rehearsal. Anyway, welcome to Hidden London here in the locked up LT Museum, Covent Garden. Chris, how nice to meet you.
Hello.
For the very first time and never in rehearsals before.
No.
How lovely to see you. Now, this is really quite different to all the exhibitions I've seen here in the past.
Yeah.
It feels quite sort of dingy, but there's lots of stuff on the walls. And what is this?
There is. So this is a very familiar Harry Beck map with most of the stations removed and a lot of the disused ones put onto it.
Yeah.
So this is largely the wholly disused stations on the tube. There are others that are partially disused. This is the majority of the sort of the biggies, if you like.
This is fascinating, it really is. I mean, this is a tube map unlike any I've seen before.
And we had great fun creating it. It really shows up how many of them there are, and also the range of dates that they close. So very first one there, 1865 for a resiting of Farringdon Street, and one of the latest ones, Charing Cross, only 20 years old when that went.
But why do places close down? I mean, why do we have abandoned tube stations and abandoned places when they cost so much money to build?
Well, simply, a lot of these lines were built by private and rival railway companies, and it wasn't uncommon to have two stations built on the opposite side of the street from each other in an attempt to try and hoover up the train. And of course, as they were grouped together, there was no point in that, so they banded those stations together, and in some cases totally closed them. So the Piccadilly line, which was one of the very early ones, Brompton Road, Down Street, York Road, were all closed very early on to help speed up the line as it was extended. And as late as 1994, Aldwych branch line was abandoned. And because of that, we have some fabulous objects in our collection, like this one, which is the ticket counter out of the lift.
So, from inside the lift?
Yeah, so Aldwych as a station was so lightly used that it made no sense to employ somebody in the ticket office out in the lift. So they put the ticket counters in the lift, so as you were going down to catch a train, you could also buy your ticket. The lifts were slower then too.
And that is really lovely, because you've brought in objects here. This is quite different from the rest of the museum, because out there you've got trams and you've got trains and you've got buses. But this is all about spaces, isn't it? And places rather than objects.
It's an exhibition that was designed to be explored and experienced rather than just passively visited. And if we carry on in, you can see we've had quite a lot of fun with this. So people have to really work and discover and look for those objects and separate them from the kind of things that you will see as soon as you go behind the scenes on any one of our tours in London.
Before we go down there, just check out this. What is this? Because this looks a little bit like Jurassic Park Amber or Kryptonite.
You look very closely, you might see a mosquito in it, but no, actually it's It's a glass insulator from the power rail of the City and South London Railway from King William Street. So an 1890 piece of infrastructure there. It's also quite unusual for us at the museum because it's not in a case.
Yeah.
You can actually feel it and the tactility of it.
And again, a long disused tube station is now gone, and I can't show you everything, I haven't got enough time. In fact, the producer's saying, go on to the next thing, go on to the next thing. This place is so full of just stuff to have a look at. On all the walls, you can see everywhere, there are bits of plates, there are photographs, things of Ongar and so on. But now, it's something very different. In fact, I can hear little birds tweeting in the background.
You might expect this exhibition to be about everything being in dark abandoned tunnels, but not all of the abandoned tube is. So this is the story about Highgate High Level Station. It was planned to extend the Northern Line out to the Northern Heights and carry up to Elstree and places further flung than it goes to now. But unfortunately the war got in the way, and although they'd started work on the station, it was never finished. And so the upper level of that station was completely abandoned and has now returned to nature.
So we talk about hidden spaces and hidden London. Isn't that on your Hidden London tours that you run as well, as part of the museum?
That's right. So Highgate is one of our Hidden London tours. You can go and see a really unusual disused station that's there in this woodland glade full of not only foliage and so on, but also some protected species. So
I'm looking here, it said this is a bat brick and bat box, and do not enter.
Yeah, well, bats are of course protected, and once they moved into the 4 tunnels, that means those tunnels are now theirs. And Transport for London works with the local conservation officers to make that habitat even better for them, as it's quite an important part of the continuation of the woodland space up there.
It's interesting how we talk about hidden London and abandoned spaces, how these spaces just change their uses over time, right? They've got new uses as the years go by.
That's right, as you said earlier, they're so valuable as spaces, they never actually become truly abandoned.
And this is like the Euston Tunnels, and I've been on a Euston trip, and this feels like those very dark, dank tunnels around Euston.
Yeah, well, we've worked really hard to try and recreate these spaces so that people can get a sense of what it's like to visit and hopefully actually want to come and see them for themselves. And as we move into this section, it covers how these spaces are adapted after they've become abandoned. They're never really left alone for long. From farms, in some cases, to filming in others. And here we've got a selection of posters for some of the films which have been made on those disused stations.
This is a favourite of mine, this one. I'm told, don't touch that. I've been told, you can come to the museum tonight, but I'm not allowed to touch anything.
Just in case you sort of resurrected in some way. So yeah, we've got everything from quite contemporary films, such as this one, through to ones that perhaps some people might not have seen from wartime, with a bit of Arthur-esque there, and as you can hear in the background, Gert and Daisy having a good old wartime knees up in the tube station.
There's a little cinema going on here, so in the exhibition you can actually see some of the films that have been filmed down in the underground. And as you say, these places are not entirely abandoned, are they? Because they found new lives. But there's one film that I love, set in the underground, which was Sliding Doors. Was that set in an abandoned tube station?
Well, kind of, yeah. If we just move down, there's a bit of a poster for it here. Upside down. Yeah, that was unusually filmed on a station which is abandoned every week on a Sunday, the Waterloo and City line. So that's where most of that filming took place.
Truly abandoned through total lack of interest at weekends, clearly.
Now, of course, there are other contemporary films as well, like James Bond's Skyfall, filmed with him running around secret parts of Charing Cross Station at the moment.
That is a fabulous film, and there's so much going on there, crashing and stuff going through tunnels. I'm assuming not those crashes and the tube trains going through tunnels weren't filmed.
No, that was a set work, so they built at Pinewood for the destroying the train. We generally frown upon that on the tube.
But it's quite a lot darker here. This is really dark and gloomy.
Well, it is, because we devoted a quarter of this exhibition to the word secret, because there's a fascination with what lies behind these doors and how they get used for things outside of the public gaze, maybe in a time of war, or maybe to run past. I was giving you a hint as to what we're going down into.
This does remind me of Down Street. Now, I've been down to Down Street, which is a disused tube station down over in southwest London. Perhaps a train going past.
Yes, you spared no expense.
But why did Down Street shut down, and why is it part of the Hidden London tour?
Well, Down Street, you saw on the map upstairs, it's a station, quite a nice looking one, a bit like Aldwych, which sat tucked away on a relatively affluent street in Mayfair. It didn't really serve anywhere that neighbouring stations didn't. And it closed in 1932, some years before the war, and so it became one of the real great case studies of how one of these stations could be adapted to be a bomb-proof bunker, and that's what they did. Now you're sat on the reason that they did this, which is the telephone exchange.
This is a museum exhibit I'm sitting on here.
So to run the nation's railways, and therefore the entire logistics effort of the Second World War, you needed telephone exchange to coordinate across the nation, keep all the railways in touch with the ministries and so on. Now what we've done is recreate a bit of it, and also create an interactive so you can try your hand to see how good you'd be at running the nation's railways.
I imagine terrible. Right, you are superintendent for London North Eastern. I have no idea.
Come back and let you try that.
We haven't got time. The producer is telling me to hurry up and not do too much stuff.
But what I want to show you is this. This is a diagram which we found in our uncatalogued collection about 2 years ago, and it shows you just how important Down Street was there at the heart of this network, connected into Government War Office, Emergency War Office, the Admiralty, the headquarters of the different 4 big railway companies, all the way up to LMS Bletchley, and my personal favourite is this one here, Coles Hill RCH.
What on earth is that?
Well, it turns out that was the sabotage wing of Dad's army. So you can imagine if we'd been invaded, War Office Down Street had a direct connection to work out how to slow the advance of the enemy by perhaps destroying bridges and sabotaging the railway.
Now, this whole place is full of little nooks and crannies and tunnels and things to explore. Now, down in here, in Down Street, or Down Street recreated, is this. It's a dining room they've recreated from the platforms Down Street. Now, over here, you can see this whole thing is laid out just as it would have been back in Down Street times.
And of course, this bit is very hush-hush, so you have to come and visit this and experience it for yourself. So what we do now is take you towards the civilian experience of wartime.
I can't show everything, of course. If I showed you everything, it would be truly impossible. And also, you wouldn't want to come back yourselves. Oh, good lord, this is a very different feel. Again, this whole exhibition has got different feelings and different areas to it. If we're going to go over here, these pictures, now these are rather unusual. Are these people asleep or staying on tube station platforms?
So when bombing started in the Second World War, people naturally gravitated towards the nearest hole in the ground to take shelter, and that was often the tube. Here you can see at Wood Green some shelterers asleep in a very uncomfortable situation on the platform, head against the bare tiles. But as the war progressed, London Transport started putting in bunk beds to make that more comfortable. And actually, from early 1941, they started building purpose-built deep-level shelters, which they finished 8 of them, each housing 8,000 people in these rather more comfortable bunks.
Speaking of
what we had perhaps created just here, and I think it's only fitting that we give them a go. I'm back in top bunk, if that's...
off you go, off you go. This is a truly immersive museum experience. This is the Assistant Director, I think we're getting into role museum. Oh, crikey. I mean, this is not awkward at all. Oh,
there's a really nice itchy blanket if you're feeling a little cold down there, just to get yourself comfortable. Try to crack your knee on anything.
There are interviews I've done, and there are interviews. Now, of all the places you've been to, which is the most interesting, do you think, to go to, or the most unusual of all the hidden London spaces, Chris?
Well, it's
apart from this one.
I guess it's a bit like having children. You're not allowed to have a favourite. But if I was suggesting to a friend which one to start with, perhaps Charing Cross would be a good one, because it's got a good mix of things like film history and good pop culture stuff, and some amazingly impressive spaces to look at.
Well, I think I'm done down here.
I'll let you get out first, because
that is thoroughly uncomfortable. But you know what? That is infinitely better than spending your life waiting for the bombs outside. That was a complete revelation, of course, wasn't it?
It makes a difference experiencing it rather than just looking at a photo of it, doesn't it?
I mean, I have to say, this is product placement. This
I don't know how that got there.
That was not there in rehearsal, I hasten to add. And I'm assuming this is, of course, the reasonably priced book that you've got.
Absolutely.
Written by written by you, possibly?
Absolutely, me and two of my colleagues, and really covers the subject in depth and lifts the lid on places that we can't take you to as part of the programme.
Well, as part of the programme, let's go look over here, because we're talking about the programme and these bunks you can go have a look at. This is where the bunks are. In situ, look at this. This is a photograph, isn't it, of the Clapham deep shelter?
Clapham's deep level shelter, yes, and the bunk that we were just lying in there, here you see them in their real setting, where in each of the 16 sub-shelters you've got 500 of these bunks, giving a total capacity of 8,000. Imagine what that was like to live in, with people snoring and worse. And smoking, of course.
It's incredible. And what do you think our obsession is with the abandoned and the underground and the secret?
I think it's curiosity for one, that innate sense of, should I be here, and is this allowed? Frankly, I have to pinch myself sometimes to think that, this is allowed.
And it's your job.
Yes, and it's my job as well, which is very good. And also that just being able to look out through grill doors and see people using the station when you're behind the scenes. Just some of the spaces are amazing to look at, to hear, to feel, to smell in some cases. And
there's some wonderful stories throughout the entire exhibition from all of the locations across the hidden London portfolio, you can call it, can't you? Because you've got the deep level shelters, you've got abandoned tube stations like Aldwych as well, you've got the ones sort of platforms up at
Highgate.
Highgate, of course it's Highgate. But if you actually want to go and visit those for yourself, and not just this exhibition here, you can, on Friday, it turns out, get some tickets that are newly released. So a whole new set of tickets for next year are being released on Friday morning at 10 o'clock for all those locations. And I believe a new one, Moorgate, I believe, is just on the list.
It is.
But if you really want a ticket, and if you really want to get one, sign up for the museum newsletter on the website, because then you get a link on the Thursday, you get early access, priority access, and you get a ticket. It's much easier to get it. I can recommend you do that, really recommend it. But of course, those tickets go on sale, and they are the perfect Christmas gift, as we said, for any budding explorer or super transport geek like me, if anyone's watching. Right, anyway, onwards, Chris.
Okay, so I'll take you into the final section now, which is talking about how this process continues in a cycle. It's quite surprising, perhaps, that places still become disused today, and also the small army of people who work to maintain the tube at night, keep it clean, repair it, and in some cases expand it. So one of the most impressive projects that I'm aware of at the moment is the bank extension project, which is happening behind the scenes. Most commuters aren't aware that it's even there, and they use the abandoned station at King William Street to gain access. There's a shaft that goes straight through the old platforms in order to get behind the scenes of bank and tunnel.
So we might say that the place is abandoned now, but it isn't, is it really?
No,
it's just found a new lease of life.
It's just resting. And if we look at the people in the shot here, yes, they've got PPE on to keep them safe, but there's one surprising thing that they also rely on, which you might not be aware of unless you've visited one of these works where people are digging and mining new tube stations. Did you know that tunnel miners have their own patron saint?
I do now.
And here it is. This is Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. Now, is this an ancient tradition or something?
It is. It's been an ongoing tradition, and it's one that I'm pleased to say is still continued. When I visited the Northern Line Extension project, there was one, and at Bank Station, I've been several times now. At the Bank project, I've been several times now, and it's even got its own little hut to live in as well to keep it safe.
It's absolutely lovely. And again, this space, part of the exhibition, is very different to the rest. It feels like a working environment. There's some signal relays there, I think.
Yes, that's right. Yes, a few cameras, just keeping an eye on you.
It feels quite immersive. And then suddenly, as if by magic, you go to the exhibition, and we have missed out, I have to say, we have missed out so many chunks of stuff that I know we wanted to talk about. Everything from flood doors that can cross, video of that. We've got inside there secret documents from the Second World War up on the walls. Genuinely, it is stuffed full of things and objects from the archives. I know you are so proud that you and your team have dug out from the corners of the archive and released them into the world. Stuff that I've never seen before, and stuff that I'm jolly pleased to see there, and I think you will too. Now the exhibition is open, isn't it? I think until January 2021, I believe. And I think that also it's included mostly in the price of the ticket when you come here to the museum. You get a free entry to that as well, because of course behind us here is the whole museum, as you can see, and it's silent and it's locked. It's brilliant at night, honestly, this is great. This is a childhood dream come true. I cannot tell you how excited this is. It just remains for me to thank you very much indeed, Chris, for being part of it. Thank you so much. Let's shake hands formally. Never met you before in my life. And thank you, of course, for watching, and the team behind the camera, but particularly you at home. Thank you so much for joining us on this, the Hidden London Tour, Unlocked. Good night.
Goodbye.